Hello, I am Kenneth Kelty, your host of Exceeding Expectations with Kenneth Kelty. I am a person with autism, intellectual, and developmental disabilities. I am an award-winning motivational speaker and activist. In my work, I advocate for self-determination by sharing my life with disabilities.
Back in November at the Reality Town Show, my friend David and I did a mini podcast interview. This is a follow up and a much longer in depth podcast podcast episode about Reality Ministries that started in Durham in 2007, and it has expanded over time. And on my podcast, we have the pleasure of hearing from someone who started at Reality when it was a much smaller group than it is now. David, you can introduce yourself. Huh?
Okay, my name is David Sittser. I am from Spokane, Washington, where I currently am sitting, but I spent many years in Durham and working at Reality Ministries. I was there from, I moved to Durham in 2008 and started working at Reality Ministries 2010, 2011, and then moved back to Spokane in 2019. And a big part of that was to start Side by Side, which is essentially like the little sibling to Reality. We started a new community here with the same principles and mission and spirit as Reality Ministries here in Spokane. And so that's a very little bit about me. And I'm happy to be here talking to Kenneth.
Thank you, David. Yes, we are definitely very excited to have you here on my podcast. I was going back to what's your favorite memory with Reality Ministries? Huh?
Oh yeah, there's so many. I don't know if you feel the same way, Kenneth, but I feel like there's a new great memory every week. I remember so my wife Kelly and I, we have 3 kids, and when we had our first child, his name's Charlie. That was back in 2016 when he was born, and I just remember how excited everybody at Reality was that Charlie was born. And I remember the first time we brought him to the Reality Center, he was just a couple weeks old. Uh, I remember DeCarlo Holmes, if you know DeCarlo, he was his typical, usual enthusiastic self times 100. And he, he was like, "Oh my goodness, that is a good baby." And so that was a highlight. I remember lots of talent shows, of course. Um, I'll never forget when Anna and Nate got engaged on stage at the talent show. That was quite a memory. I also remember. Okay, there's this one. We did the talent show for 1 year at the Hayti Heritage Center, and Sloan Meek was about to perform, and they had a lift instead of a ramp, so we had to use a lift to get up on stage, and the lift wasn't working. And in the meantime, the intro music for his performance was this really intense kind of showdown type of music, very intense, and we had to just keep playing it while they figured out the lift, and the energy in the room just got more and more and more intense, and there was a smoke machine, and so it just felt extra dramatic. And finally Sloan burst onto stage, and the smoke machine and the music, and everybody just went crazy. So that was pretty fun.
Thank you. I definitely agree. There's always a great memory. And yes, and I remember how great it was when I first got to meet you, when I first started coming in 2013. And I remember the times too of Reality always being great. And I am glad that it has grown a lot more since there is a group in Durham and now in Orange County.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is great seeing So that is great seeing. So that is great seeing the growth of how much reality has grown in almost 20 years.
Yeah,
So it's
pretty
always.
amazing. And Kenneth, do you primarily go to the Chapel Hill group?
Yes, I primarily go to the Sapple Hill group, but I do love when I get to see, yeah, the actual reality center on lead mine, and I do always love the live nativity.
Yeah, nice.
And it's always great too because there's new people to get to meet, and it is nice always going to see Elizabeth Houston around at events. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Elizabeth and I worked together for a long, long time.
And I do love how the Duke Divinity School has done has done a lot with Reality Ministries and the North Street neighborhood. Even though I do live in the Tar Heel Masons, I do love Duke definitely because of the Duke Divinity School, and back in South Florida where I'm originally from, David McIntyre, who was the priest at the United Methodist Church, is a Duke Divinity alum from a long time ago. So it's definitely always great again to hear about Duke Divinity schools, and I'm glad that from there that there's David McIntyre and that I've gone to meet David Sittser from Duke Divinity School and Mike Sosa.
Yeah, I mean it's an awesome connection to have all those amazing people from Duke Div. So I'm glad that you feel the same way.
Thank you, yes, and definitely something that I do love about Reality Ministries is that it is an accepting community where all are welcome and where it is an intentional community. I mean, the United Methodist Church of the Palm Beaches was always very welcoming to me and my peers with disabilities, and it's great with Reality Ministries up here. But it's great when services are about welcoming all, and when they do embrace the message of no hierarchy, and where everyone can come rather than being carried around like it's also for so.
Yeah, I totally feel the same way. I mean, I was just chatting with someone about how we strive to be a community where there is no above and below, but rather side by side.
No, thank you. I definitely love the side by side and how that's become. Definitely share about the business of side by side. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I mean, the seed was really planted when I was still at Reality Ministries. Honestly, it was almost like kind of half joking at first, like, oh, I should go start this back in Washington. Not joking, but kind of casual, we got thrown around, and then at one point, Susan and Jeff McSwain came over to our house, and we just sat down and had dessert, and they're like, what if we did it? What if we made it a real thing? Like, what if we stopped just kind of casually throwing it around and really sent you to start a new thing, a new reality? That was sort of everything changed after that. We started really seriously considering it and praying about it, and so we laid a lot of the groundwork when I was still in Durham, like some of the logistics of starting a nonprofit and all that stuff. And then also that year at Reality in the fellows program that we used to have, a guy named Ryan Shelley was a fellow that year, Reality Fellow, and he was from Washington. And I asked, are you interested in coming back and helping with this? And he said, okay. So he helped start Side by Side, and he's still on staff. I think he's in the room next door even. So it was just really neat to see the confluence of people that really helped make it happen. I moved away from Durham in September of 2019 back to Spokane. Our first Side by Side gathering was just a handful of people, probably 12 people in a living room having tacos on a Taco Tuesday. And just that was the start, just people who are interested in a different kind of community. And then it just kind of slowly built from there. And then, of course, we had just 4 months in, we had to deal with COVID. And so that was obviously unexpected, but we were able to navigate that okay. And then since then, yeah, we just kind of grateful to see growth and flourishing. But yeah, that was kind of how it all started.
Yeah, I like that connection. I'm glad that Ryan was able to go up with you. And Topple Tuesdays are always a great idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even a Topple Thursday. Some, so, yeah, sometimes.
Tacos are always a good idea.
Yes, they're always, but it's always great too where communities can start off very small, but then build up. But yeah, I remember COVID as that was all happening. I remember just 5 weeks before the shutdown happened, I was just looking forward to beginning my new life as I had just moved over to Orange County in my first rent control apartment. So that was all very exciting, looking forward to starting a new life. But then COVID happened and a lot of uncertainty at that time.
Now it's pretty wild to look back. I was just looking at some old side by side photos earlier this morning with people with masks on, but yeah, we were able to figure it out.
Well, yeah, I'm glad we were able to figure out too, and I'm glad that kind of then a year after it all happened, that then that's when I came back. Yeah, that was great being able to come back to reality, and I am glad that groups were so able to carry on with because with having virtual events during that point of time as it was a very sad year, and I am glad that the reality was able to get back to again to being able to get back at the DPAC after kind of after the restrictions of COVID happened. I definitely am glad that it's been able to grow. And in the past couple years, I am very glad about the growth of intentional communities and great religious groups that are trying to become more and more non-denominational as people aren't always as aware of whether it's Christian based and just having groups where everyone can come together, but with being a caring person.
Yeah, totally.
Like, yeah, you can yes, please share about the different groups that side by side. Yeah.
Sure. Well, we just finished 2 clubs. We just had our music and movement clubs, and it was really great. We practiced a song at music called the song is called Side by Side, so it's kind of perfect. And it's a really neat song. It's by John Foreman, and we're memorizing it as a group right now. And then some of us might sing it at our spring talent show. So that was pretty fun to practice that. And we also practice our rhythm, practice clapping on the 2 and the 4. So worked on that. And then the movement group, I believe they did Zumba today, but kind of maybe similar to Reality's interest groups. Our clubs are basically chances for people to come around like a shared interest, and just share that passion together and also get to know one another through that thing. And they work really great because as side by side gets bigger, the clubs can be kind of a person's like little family within side by side. So we have a bunch of those, and then tomorrow night we'll have our Tuesday evening group. It's kind of similar to a community group at Reality. We call our evening group the Huddle, and so we'll have the Huddle, have some good food, and we got some fun special events coming up. We've got our Valentine's Day tea next week, and snowshoeing coming up soon. And of course, everyone's very excited about the talent show, just like at Reality. It's a big deal. So we're looking forward to it.
Yes, I'm glad that yes, there is the huddle because it's great to have community group where people with shared interests can come together. And it's definitely going to be exciting to hear and see about the talent soul, because it's great to have something fun like that to look forward to every year where people can feel connected.
Yeah, it's pretty great. What
Yeah.
groups do you do any interest groups at Reality right now?
If I says, well, it's kind of hard, but yeah, I definitely know that I would do some more of like the interest group over at Reality Ministries. I mean, I'm looking forward to in a couple weeks over at the Durham location to get to go to a New Year's festival, Chinese New Year's.
Whoa, cool.
So that will definitely be cool to definitely get to look into some more of the small groups. I like to say it's been a pleasure having my friend David on the podcast today. You'll get to see the video from the talent show and listen to this full clip of Kenneth and David from Reality. Stay tuned as we send you some exciting content from both Reality and Side by Side.
I'm honored to be on. Thank you so much, Kenneth, and it was a treat to chat with you.
This is your host from Exceeding Expectations with Kenneth Kelty. Go above expectations